Fallout New Vegas.
Fallout New Vegas is the best RPG ever made, and that's why a second one was never released and probably never will.
No!
Let me explain. Fallout 3 and 4 are the best-selling entries in the Fallout franchise. In 2008, 3 won Best RPG at the Spike Video Game Awards, and in that same year, even won Best Writing in a Drama.
I am in charge here. I am the Enclave.
I was shooting my gun when you were still an itch in your daddy's pants.
Yeah, that didn't age well. Selling nearly 12 million copies to date, and Fallout 4 coming in at a whopping 20 million, it's no surprise that these games were a smashing success for Bethesda's bottom line. Despite the profits, these titles don't have the reputation or cult-like stardom that Fallout New Vegas has. So it begs the question to many, what makes Fallout New Vegas so goddamn good? New Vegas opens with a bang. I mean literally, we just got domed in the head. Waking up inside a stranger's home, we are greeted by a man named Doc Mitchell.
You've been out cold a couple of days now. Why don't you just relax a second? Get your bearings.
Doc serves an important role of allowing the player to customize how they look, what special points they will have, and what skills or traits they excel at, if any. Even the first room of the game rewards the player depending on the skills they choose. A science character has the ability to craft medical supplies or illicit narcotics, which that choice in itself says a lot about the type of character that you are. While a character invested into repair can fix a broken SMG, granted they have enough points. You can also use speech to convince Doc Mitchell to give you more medical supplies. That is 3 different skill checks within the first room of the game. This might seem insignificant, but rewarding the player based on their skills is the bread and butter that makes this game special. This sends a clear message. Your choices are going to matter, but the game doesn't just rely on skill checks to create engagement. New Vegas feels alive because it's extremely reactive to the player. It's able to achieve this illusion through 2 types of reactivity: direct and indirect reactivity. Anything direct is presented through scripted events. If you pick up a blue star bottle cap, that action causes a series of events to unfold, from you being stalked by Malcolm Holmes,
Hello there.
to witnessing a robbery happen in real time. There are so many hidden events that even though I've played this game on and off for a decade, I still discover new things every year. For example, this is Carl. He's a spy that's been sent to Red Rock Canyon to form an alliance between Caesar's Legion and the Great Khans. Should you break this alliance, you probably ended the quest by exposing Carl to Papa Khan and getting him murdered on the spot.
Great Khans, drive Caesar's dog out of our camp.
Yeah?
Hello.
But there is a hidden way to deal with Carl. In the beginning of the quest, Regis warns you that you should probably find a way to take care of Carl.
Carl's the one who has him so fixated on this alliance. You'll probably have an easier time of things if you can find a way to get him out of the picture.
And that's not an empty gesture. Carl even tells you he's plotting something devious if you continue to sabotage the alliance.
I understand you've been talking to the Great Khans about breaking their oaths to Great Caesar. I would call that unwise.
This results in a unique encounter where Carl sends Legion assassins after you.
Carl sends his regards. You have to die.
Defeating them and then waiting a few endgame days forces Carl to go and do the dirty work himself.
You've been a persistent annoyance, and I had hoped to avoid this, but it seems I have no choice but to deal with you myself.
Let's get this over with, homeboy.
Well spoken.
I didn't even know this was in the game until a couple months ago. I love when developers create scenarios that maybe only a couple thousand players will discover. It makes your brain wonder, if that's been hiding in the game this entire time, what other events did I miss out on?
Lucky what we have here, ladies. Another unsuspecting ponce.
On the other hand, indirect is shown best through player influence. When you do something, people in the Mojave Wasteland tend to notice.
Shit, you just piss folks off wherever you go, huh?
Friendly warning. You might want to steer clear of NCR facilities. You're not exactly popular. Sure, see you around.
It's such a small thing, but it makes you feel like you're making a name for yourself out in the wasteland. That's why I said earlier, reactivity is an illusion. I don't mean that in a bad way. It's a compliment, because the game does it extremely well. The developers can't think of every single scenario possible, and why would they? It would dilute the end result. But if they engineer enough unique and obscure ones, it sure as hell is gonna feel like they did. But you don't have to take my word for it. Josh Sawyer, the lead designer of New Vegas, said it himself in 2012.
We do this all over New Vegas. You do a quest, hours later, some random dude out in the middle of nowhere goes, hey, reaction to the quest that you did. And they're like, oh my God, this world is full of all this reactivity. But it's really just that one character doing that one thing, and then it's completely forgotten about. But if you do that for a ton of quests, then people go like, wow, there is really a lot of stuff going on where people remember and do things, and this world is alive.
Keep that phrase in your mind as we continue through the game, and you'll start to see it sprinkled all throughout. After taking a Rorschach test with Doc Mitchell, he gives the player quite a few medical supplies, a Pip-Boy 3000, and letting us know the only thing he found in our body was something about a platinum chip.
I hope you don't mind, but I gave the note a look. I thought it might help me find a next of kin, but it was just something about a platinum chip.
Given we don't have the platinum chip anymore, we can assume that's the reason we were shot. But who would murder someone for something so mundane? Guess we'll have to explore the town to figure that out. Leaving the home, you'll be flashed by the sun and bombarded by DLC pop-ups.
Okay, alright. Okay, that's good. That's good!
The town of Goodsprings is like any other rural town. Ranchers trying to support their community while also having stand-up citizens that engage in barter, beer, and defense. Everything here is pretty normal except for the towering robot cowboy.
Howdy, partner! Might I say you're looking fit as a fiddle?
Yes, you heard me right. This robot is named Victor, and is actually the one that dug us out of our grave.
I was out for a stroll that night when I heard the commotion up the old bone orchard. Saw what looked like a bunch of bad eggs, so I laid low. Once they'd run off, I dug you up to see if you were still kicking. Turns out you were. So I hauled you off to the dock right quick.
Victor is a mysterious fellow, to put it lightly. It doesn't make much sense for a robot like him to settle out in the middle of nowhere, and although he's very friendly, I just get the sense that something is off, like he's hiding something. Fun fact though, if you head north after leaving Doc Mitchell's house, you stumble across a vicious creature known as the Cazador. From afar, they don't look that big until these bug bastards dart right at you. However, to my surprise, someone was there to save my biscuits yet again.
Hog killing time. You need to be careful. It's dangerous out here.
This all but confirms that Victor is stalking us.
Heck, I can smell trouble a mile away.
How? You don't have a nose.
You're a fraud!
But there's more to the town than just him. Taking Doc Mitchell's advice, we head towards the local saloon where we meet a pretty little lady named Sunny Smiles and her four-legged friend, Cheyenne.
Cheyenne, stay. Don't worry, she won't bite unless I tell her to.
Sunny offers an optional tutorial for the player. In a nutshell, she'll make you shoot 3 bottles, clap some gecko meat, and learn how to make drugs in the wild. As a tutorial, it's not that bad, but also nothing special. On repeat playthroughs, I guarantee you will skip it unless you're going for an idolized run of Goodsprings. I haven't mentioned it yet, but you can build a reputation with the groups of the Mojave Wasteland. Depending on your actions, you can be viewed on a scale from criminally vilified to reverently idolized. If you're just a piece of shit, people are going to notice and treat you as such.
Since you haven't pissed yourself, I'll assume that you don't know who we are. Next time I'll bring my sickle and wear my black cloak.
Likewise, if you're a friend of the people, you're going to be treated like the local legend that you are.
Hey, you're the one who's been going around helping people around here, right? The king says to keep up the good work, and said to give you this.
This dynamic reputation system, combined with the many skill checks we talked about earlier, helps cultivate this world that feels alive. But this whole system gets elevated to a whole nother level when you factor in the special rule in New Vegas's game design. You can murder anyone in the Mojave Wasteland. Doc Mitchell? Fuck him. Sunny Smiles?
Hey there.
More like Sunny Piles. In most RPGs, you have to follow a very specific quest line or meet certain conditions for a character to be disposed of, but New Vegas throws that out the window. No one is too important in this world, and any person or thing that you see is fair game to fill with bullet holes. But a reputation system is only as good as the factions that inhibit it. Thankfully, New Vegas has some interesting ones. To learn more this early in the game, we need to visit an older gentleman named Easy Pete.
Howdy. What can Easy Pete do for you?
Easy Pete is a way for the player to learn more about the world we inhabit. In the Mojave, there are many factions and towns, each with their own governing style, socioeconomic issues, and ideals of how a post-nuclear world should function. However, let's focus on the big three: the New California Republic, the New Vegas Strip, and Caesar's Legion.
Today's subject: slavery.
Where do we even start? Caesar's Legion is as captivating as it is abhorrent. This brutal faction is led by the charismatic but tyrannical dictator Edward Sallow, aka Caesar himself. Inspired by ancient Rome, the Legion is a totalitarian slave state seeking peace and stability through extreme suppression, which is just a fancy way to say they are fascist, misogynistic Roman cosplayers in football pads that crucify and enslave their neighbors because unity. Caesar believes long-term stability can be achieved by assimilating everyone in the Mojave under one homogeneous culture, whether you like it or not.
It means a nationalist, imperialist, totalitarian, homogeneous culture that obliterates the identity of every group it conquers. Long-term stability at all costs. The individual has no value beyond his utility to the state, whether as an instrument of war or production.
The methods Caesar uses to break down the individual are some of the most depraved and sadistic actions you will witness in the wasteland.
I butchered this town. Those who weren't hacked limb from limb were forced to throw themselves from the cliffs. 3 more I have just crucified.
Yet that's not the greatest evil Caesar is committing. Talking to members of the Legion reveal they all have traumatic experiences of their people being subjugated.
Hangdogs hung out longer than most, broke us by throwing our dogs on the fire.
A small town in New Mexico. The Legion burned it a few years back. That's how I ended up here.
Girls and women were enslaved. The rest were killed.
They truly believe what the Legion did to them was a good thing.
We were savages. The Legion raised us up, made us better than what we were. Then the Legion came. Good thing, too. Stronger now. Don't need those beliefs anymore.
They've been brainwashed so bad, they can't even recognize that
you're a victim.
There we go, CSI.
But it can be argued that this iron power fist mentality does create results. Dale Barton talks about how dealing in Caesar's land is safer than the NCRs. Raul talks about how Legion brought peace to the Arizona. And although Cass hates to admit it, she says that any caravan marked by the Legion is as safe as houses.
Much as I hate the Legion, caravan life would be a hell of a lot easier if they ran the roads.
Well, safe for everyone but you, Cass. You're a woman. We know how the Legion feels about that.
What do you want from me, woman? I'm in charge of the arena, not the cooking pots.
What's most fascinating is that if you spend enough time with the Legion, they open up about why they have the philosophy they do. Caesar is able to justify his regime through his skewed perspective of Hegelian dialectics.
I'll destroy it because it's inevitable that it be destroyed. It's Hegelian dialectics, not personal animosity.
In a real-world example, let's think of pizza. You want pepperoni because that's how a classic pizza has always been made. In this example, you are the thesis. But hypothetically, let's say your girlfriend wants pineapple because she believes pizza should be sweet and savory. In this example, she's the antithesis. After debating, you eventually create a pizza that is half pepperoni and half pineapple. That's the synthesis of both of your ideas. However, dear viewer, what if I told you that I've been misleading you on purpose to showcase how if you say something confidently enough, people will believe you, which is exactly what Caesar is doing. What I just said about pizza is not Hegelian dialectics. Hegel never used the terms thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. That was Johann Fichte. Caesar's interpretation of Hegelian dialectics isn't even Hegelian dialectics. But okay, let's say that Caesar really meant Johann Fick's philosophy of thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. Caesar is still completely bypassing the synthesis process. Caesar is not engaging in a genuine merging of ideas or resolution with the NCR. He is manipulating the concept to rationalize his conquest and present his rule over the Mojave as the one and only necessary solution, all while neglecting the core aspects of collaboration, progress, and ethical considerations that synthesis actually entails. No matter how you look at it, this is not a collaborative synthesis, but a coerced one. No matter what Caesar says, at the end of the day, he is just a power-hungry dictator, and a dumb one too. Snuffles the mole rat has a higher intelligence than this sad sack of shit. In my eyes, a fascist, misogynistic, totalitarian slave state that exploits every member into a tool to push his tyrannical agenda should not have a place in the Mojave Wasteland. So that's why, for the aforementioned reasons, Caesar's Legion is number 1 on my shit list. Most playthroughs, I'll go out of my way to make sure Caesar meets a violent end, and if I don't, his brain tumor sure will.
Caesar is dead, at your hands.
The only time I've cured Caesar's tumor is when I learned you could sell Archaganon into slavery.
Hey there! Was it always your plan to sell me into slavery to Caesar, or was that a spur-of-the-moment thing? In the words of Socrates, go fornicate yourself.
I bully their soldiers.
Have you come to Nelson seeking your death, profligate?
I came here seeking yours, skirt boy.
Brothers, help!
And most satisfying of all, I give them a taste of their own medicine. In the world of Fallout, the Geneva Conventions just don't exist anymore, so the Legion set off a radiation bomb in a town called Camp Searchlight. The Legion bombed this place so bad that the soldiers inside instantly turned into ghouls. The entire area is just blanketed in this neon green glow, and as you make your way towards the epicenter, you will get radiation poisoning. Now, I know the NCR is guilty of war crimes as well. They have a massacre called Bitter Springs, and they even asked me to torture a prisoner of war. But what the Legion did to Camp Searchlight is truly awful. There was not a miscommunication, they did that on purpose. But so can you if you really want to. In Cottonwood Cove, there's a truck packed to the brim full of radioactive barrels. With enough lockpick, you can break the latch open and be responsible for the massacre of an entire Legion town.
Death to the leader!
Oh, I probably should have saved the sleighs before I did that. And because New Vegas is New Vegas, the raft guy that takes you to see Caesar is now wearing a hazmat suit. He even talks about how he always knew this was gonna happen.
I warned them about that truck weeks ago. Always be prepared for any hazardous radiation, I said. Those headstrong fools should have listened.
It's the interactions like this that makes me just straight up love this game. But if we can't find salvation within the Legion, let's see how the boys back home are doing. The New California Republic, aka the NCR, is in theory the polar opposite of the Legion. Instead of totalitarianism, they believe in liberal democracy. Slavery is illegal in the NCR. Women can actually serve in the NCR. Mutants and ghouls are given rights and protections that the Legion doesn't. Some of the finest rangers in the NCR are actually ghouls.
You ever think about being a ranger?
Built as a federal republic with its roots dating back to California as seen in Fallout 1 and 2, this faction is offering a beacon of democratic hope amidst the chaos of the Mojave Wasteland. On paper, their goals sound noble. In execution, their methods showcase a tangled web of contradictions.
My troops are out here every day dying for the NCR, but they've left us out to dry. We have no men or supplies, and we're stretched too thin trying to guard the entire river. If the brass back home could get their heads out of their asses long enough to send support, we could turn this all around.
This is because at the highest level, senators don't want to lose their political power in California by supporting an unpopular war in the Mojave.
Senate elections are coming up. Local representatives don't want to push any more funding to the Mojave campaign because it's unpopular. Most of the folks around the boneyard haven't been to New Vegas and probably never will. All they know is that their money gets sucked away to this desert and their brothers, sisters, sons, and daughters die here.
Additionally, the Republic is known to cater to the rich Brahmin barons before the needs of the common folk, resulting in a lack of funding, resources, and manpower to achieve their goal in the Mojave. This mismanagement and conflicting interests leads to a myriad of corruption in-game. In a snow-capped town north of Vegas lies a place called Jacobstown. It's a peaceful place for mutants, until the NCR gets involved. One of the major quests that you'll experience in Jacobstown is that an NCR senator aiming to secure votes through anti-mutant sentiment dispatches mercenaries to exterminate or displace everyone in the town.
Just doing what I'm paid to do. Harass the muties until they leave or attack us. If they leave, we'll let them go. If they attack, we wipe them out.
If not for the courier's intervention, this might have ended in unnecessary bloodshed. This xenophobic approach isn't fueled by genuine concern, but by the cynical calculation that playing on mutant hate will translate into electoral support. This is not only highly corrupt, but extremely evil. Yet, this is not the only example of mutants being mistreated by the NCR. In an area called Westside, we can meet a super mutant named Mean Son of a Bitch.
I wash my bone with Zippy.
His jumbled speech is because he's a victim of an NCR hate crime where he was ambushed, savagely beaten, and eventually had his tongue cut, resulting in a permanent disfigurement. Still, supermutants aren't the only people suffering from systemic injustice. In the quest, That Lucky Old Sun, you're tasked with diverting the power from Helios 1 solar plant to Camp McCarran and the New Vegas Strip.
Do yourself a favor and make sure you send the power to the right place. It needs to go to the Strip and McCarran.
Two places, last I checked, that are doing just fine from an electrical point of view. McCarran has a fully functioning monorail, while the children of Freeside are eating fucking rats. The NCR doesn't care about helping anyone but themselves. It's why the followers of the apocalypse strongly recommend sending power to everyone in the region.
The need for power is great everywhere. Distributing it evenly is the most rational and humane choice.
The followers are spitting nothing but facts here, but I won't lie to you. I've activated Archimedes and Oppenheimered all of the NCR soldiers just so I could see the greatest line of dialogue in all of New Vegas.
Hey man, when in Rome.
There are far more examples of corruption I could bring up, like absorbent NCR tolls.
They don't do the stop tolls on the roads or in the outposts like some NCR quartermasters do.
Shady underground arms dealing.
Gee, Contreras, I didn't know you had so many friends in the gun runners.
And extreme nepotism, even at the highest levels.
What I heard, he'd be a general right now if Oliver didn't know the president.
But the biggest contradiction of them all is how the NCR treats the other factions of the Mojave. For a group that is supposed to be champions of liberal democracy, they are quite brutal.
Guess he wants to do this the hard way, boys. Take him down.
If you side with the NCR, they will eventually want you to take care of the Great Khans and the Brotherhood of Steel, since they are potential threats. But they don't even try to broker an alliance between the two. They straight up ask you to murder them all.
Don't even think about it. Any Brotherhood survivors likely harbor a deep grudge against us. We can't afford to leave such an enemy alive.
Unless the courier puts in serious legwork to broker a peace deal, the NCR has no qualms at all using extremely violent methods to ensure their conquest. This made me realize something. The game is very subtle about it, but the NCR's expansion isn't solely about liberal democracy. When you really analyze their actions, it's because they've depleted a large majority of the natural resources back in California. Hanlon talks about how all the lakes and aquifers have been sucked dry.
We neglected the dams or pumped all the water out a long time ago. Owens, Isabella, the San Luis drained the aquifers of everything they had.
Hildren from Camp McCarran talks about how the NCR is facing mass starvation.
I'm also confronting the problem of food production in what little spare time I have. Our studies project an imbalance between production and consumption. Or, for a layman such as yourself, not enough food, too many mouths to feed. Mass starvation in a decade or so.
Even some of the NCR soldiers will tell you that they only joined the army just so they wouldn't starve to death.
Well, as it turns out, we had a string of bad harvests a few years back. Pa said he couldn't afford to feed but 3 youngins or we'd starve. As the biggest one, it was my job to go join the army so as my sisters could eat and so as we wouldn't all be killed by raiders and Jesus would love us.
Now, these issues aren't exclusive to the NCR. Any faction in a post-apocalyptic world is gonna have to deal with this. But when you realize they are plaguing a faction as big as the NCR, it shines light on their true intentions. Any benefits brought with their conquest are just concessions in order to keep the peace.
The NCR is the biggest gang of thieves in the Mojave. Only difference is they pass laws to make their crimes legal before they commit them.
The NCR is only good if you work really hard to make it good. Without player intervention, they are set to commit some really questionable actions. But if I had to choose between Roman fascists and incompetent bureaucracy, I'm going to have to side with the NCR. So far, they're shaping up to be the lesser of two evils. Well, unless there was another choice. But before we can really dive into that faction, we need to figure out who shot us and stole the platinum chip. Finishing the tutorial with sunny smiles opens up the player to their first real conflict in the Mojave. Looking to meet a bartender named Trudy, we are instead greeted by a local powder ganger named Joe Cobb.
I'm done being nice. If you don't hand Ringo over soon, I'm going to get my friends and we're burning this town to the ground.
Powder gangers are one of the many flavors of raiders in Fallout New Vegas. Best known for their love of explosives and criminal activities, they bring a special kind of Black Air Force energy to any room they enter.
What the hell is your problem?
In this case, Joe Cobb's quarrel isn't directly with Goodsprings. His initial target is a guy named Ringo, who happens to be hiding in the Poseidon Energy gas station.
That's close enough. Who are you, and what do you want with me?
However, since Goodsprings isn't giving up his location, they've been thrust into a brewing gang war. At this point, it's up to us, the player, to decide how they'll deal with the looming threat. You can side with the town that just nursed you back to health, or you can betray their kindness by teaming up with the powder gangers. This is a brilliant introduction into the karma and reputation system we talked about earlier. No matter who you side with, you're going to piss off one of the factions. If you want to give Goodsprings the best chance of survival, they'll need new armor, medical supplies, reinforcements, and some explosives of their own. Depending on how you built your character, you might not be able to get all those items, and that's okay. It makes building your character around certain skills that much more rewarding. When I saw you could use a sneak check to convince Trudy, I thought that was pretty cool. In most RPGs, a sneak skill only impacts the mechanical gameplay, but seeing it influence dialogue is not only neat, but makes sense in this context. As for Chet, when you first meet him, he doesn't want to give up the leather armor.
Now just hold on. I never voted to take on the powder gangers. That's a 1,000 cap investment you're talking about.
But through barter, we can convince him. If all the residents of Goodsprings die in this fight, your dumbass won't have a general store. You think these explosive maniacs are gonna pay full price if they take over the town? No, stupid.
You made your point. I can provide people with some leather armor and extra ammo. Sure hope it's worth it. And I'll be guarding the store while all this is going on. I have to put my business first. You understand.
Doc Mitchell and Sunny Smiles are the only exceptions. They don't require any convincing. They're good people that want to do the right thing for their town.
Just like that. I have a feeling that I'm going to end up fighting those guys one way or another. Joe Cobb talks about leaving us alone if we hand over Ringo. But I know his type. He and his friends will come after the town eventually.
After talking to everyone, you probably have everything to start the fight and decide the fate of Goodsprings. But there is something special for players that think outside the box. Nothing in the game tells you to ask Victor for help, but if you approach him, you can.
Trouble with rustlers, huh? Count me in, partner. Those varmints will be running home with their tails between their legs soon enough.
I love that New Vegas is the type of game where the developers thought, if the players would think to do that, we should program that choice into the game. With all the reinforcements ready, we can finally fight the powder gangers. And honestly, the fight is so damn easy, even on the highest difficulty, because New Vegas's DLCs are just straight up busted. Someone really said, yeah, give him a grenade launcher as soon as he leaves Doc Mitchell's house. After a landslide victory, the powder gangers are no longer a threat to Goodsprings. Thanks to us, everyone has played their part to keep the town safe. Except for you, Victor. What the hell were you doing? Bro Control-Alt-deleted himself in the middle of the fight, and you can question him about that.
Howdy, partner. So when do the rustlers show up?
Bro, what are you talking about? You didn't even show up to the fight.
Now just hold on. I meant it when I said I'd help you. Guess I must have dozed off. That's never happened before.
With enough science, you can discover that someone manually overrided his controls.
That's a puzzle, all right. I'm sure it's nothing. I truly am sorry I couldn't help you, partner. Was there something else you wanted to talk about?
Most players don't know this, but if you talk to Chet, he explicitly tells you who made Victor.
The other casinos follow Mr. House's rules, so I guess that makes him the leader of New Vegas. I think that robot who pulled you out of the dirt belongs to Mr. House. If Mr. House is looking after you, it's gotta be a good thing, right?
The only nitpick I have is that I wish after talking to Chet, you could bring up what he said to Victor. Overall, this is a great first questline because it's really a microcosm of what's to come later. Ghost Town Gunfight isn't just about settling a dispute, it's your initiation to the Mojave's complexities. Do you align with the Powder Gangers and their lawless ways, or do you support the struggling residents of Goodsprings? No matter which one you choose, it's going to affect how people treat you and see you going forward.
I have a present for you from the Powder Gangers. I hope you like dynamite.
After this, the world is our oyster. The game is going to set you on a linear path to find who shot you, but honestly, you can head in any direction you want. Though, each direction comes with its own pros and cons. Through the mountains to New Vegas results in you getting ganked by every cazador in a half-mile radius. Going up I-15 would be the most direct route to Vegas, but a whole swarm of Deathclaws has taken over because the NCR is incompetent at their jobs.
Hold up. There are Deathclaws all over the damn place north of here. I'd turn back if I were you. Have you ever seen a Deathclaw? They're taller than a man and far, far stronger and faster. And there's a whole pack of them out there. You'd have to be the meanest, toughest, roughest bastard in the wasteland to have any chance against them, and I don't think that's you.
Looking at our map, that leaves us with one choice. We're gonna need to head south towards Primm, hook east until we arrive on the I-95, and head north straight to Vegas. This is the route the developers intend for you to take on your first playthrough. You know that you're looking at Primm when you see the giant wooden roller coaster out in the distance. Its large stature would make you think this is a fairly big town, but it's a pretty small resort town. The only places worth mentioning are the Vicky and Vance Casino, Steve Bison Hotel, and Mojave Express. As you approach Primm, the first interaction you get is an NCR soldier telling you to stay away.
Hey, where the hell do you think you're going? Primm is off limits. Some convicts from the prison up the road have taken over the town. Everyone inside is either dead or in hiding.
If that's the case, why are you sitting here talking to me? You should be helping.
We'd love to, but they don't fall under NCR jurisdiction. Even if they did, we're in no shape to protect them. We don't have the equipment to take out the convicts. And even if we did, we need some extra hands for backup.
This is the first real display of bureaucratic incompetence from the NCR. We were able to take down the Powder Gangers with a ragtag team of ranchers back in Goodsprings. And you're telling me that a trained military unit can't pick off a couple of convicts? That's kinda sad. So I guess it's up to us to secure Primm. Clearing out the street convicts allows us to find the residents taking shelter in the local casino.
I don't know what it was brought you to Primm, youngster, but you might want to rethink your plans. Town's gone to hell.
Johnson Nash gives us a skinny on Primm. In the past couple days, the former sheriff and his wife were murdered in their sleep, and the local deputy has been taken hostage inside the Bison Hotel. We also learned that Victor was the one that hired us to deliver the platinum chip.
That cowboy robot had us hire 6 couriers, had himself a face on a screen. And he talked more like you or me.
Which raises a lot of questions. But most importantly of all, there is another robot cowboy. He even has cowboy boots with spurs. Funny enough, Primm Slim is the toughest character in the entire game, including DLCs. Because his health scales exponentially as the player levels up, at the max cap of level 50, he has 3,750 HP. Yeah, no shot he's surviving a week.
Damn. That boy Primm Slim built. Ford tough.
To find our next lead on who shot us, we're going to have to save the local deputy. Now, how you do that really depends on your playstyle. You can sneak in, free him, and slip away without anyone noticing. You could go in gun blazing, snapping powder gangers like Thanos. Or you could be like me, sneak in, steal his notes while he's still tied up, and go on your merry way. After this point, it's up to you if you want to bring law and order to the resort town. Primm has lost their sheriff and they need a new one. Sadly, only a few people can step up to the task. Option 1 is an ex-convict named Myers who has sheriff experience, but can't be loosey-goosey with due process. Sometimes that means that innocents are punished with little to no evidence.
Due process has its place, but sometimes it's just a waste of time. I'll need to know that I'm not going to end up right back in prison.
Your second choice is the NCR. They couldn't help Primm because it wasn't under NCR jurisdiction, but even if that was the case, I don't think they can offer much in the short term because their hands are so full dealing with the Legion. Ultimately, your third and final option is uniquely weird. You could program Primm Slim to protect the town, though I believe that's a horrible choice. I know I said Primm Slim is the toughest NPC in the game, but I didn't say he was the strongest. He can't fight back. Remember, the guy is just a casino greeter programmed to be a cowboy. Don't get me wrong, I love the robot cowboy dearly, but I don't trust binary code to dictate the gray morality of crime.
Slim's all right. I don't wish him no harm, but the law to him is a set of logic. Not everything is black and white. Not sure a robot can ever understand that.
Really, I'm split 50-50 between Myers and the NCR. I believe in the long run, they both will do right by the town.
We got rule of law again, but of the martial variety. NCR orders us around like junior soldiers. Better than lawlessness, though.
With Primm in good hands, we can finally get back on track to find our shooters. Now, according to Deputy Beagle's note, they went to a town called Nipton, so we should check it out. Approaching Nipton, you can just tell something bad happened. Pitch black smoke engulfs the area as live fires rage on. Add in the extremely ominous music, and you got a recipe for a tragedy. This bleak tone is quickly interrupted when we meet a peculiar man named Oliver Swanick.
Yeah! Who won the lottery? I did! Smell that air! Couldn't you just drink it like booze?
His slurred speech and demeanor would suggest that he's drunk, but he's just high off life. And after learning why, I think you would be too in his shoes. In a nearby building, we can meet a rather brash but crippled powder ganger named Boxcars. Unlike Oliver, he actually tells us what the hell went on.
You're looking at the second place winner of the Nipton lottery. That asshole Swanick took first place, so him they let walk.
According to what's left, Nipton used to be a pretty degenerate town, filled with every vice you can imagine. Illicit substances, promiscuous individuals, and its famous lottery that allured settlers all over looking to strike it rich. The mayor of Nipton and his cronies had a pretty good racket going on, serving powder gangers by day and NCR soldiers by night. Eventually, the mayor gets a deal of a lifetime. The Legion made a compelling offer: round up all the NCR soldiers and all the powder gangers at the same time so they could capture and punish both. If everything went to plan, the Legion was offering an eye-watering 8,000 cap reward. Of course, the mayor, blinded by greed, accepted the offer, but little did he know it was all one big trap. NCR soldier, powder ganger, or Nipton resident, it did not matter. In the eyes of the Legion, every single person had to be punished. Thus, the lottery began, and I think Boxcars explains it best.
It ain't like we came to Nipton to play it. Me and my crew had it worked out to kidnap some NCR troopers who come to town to get laid. Had it all worked out with the scumbag mayor. We were gonna ransom them off, keep their weapons for ourselves, a nice score. We get in position, and next thing we know, we're surrounded by those fucking Legion freaks. They dragged us and everybody else into the center of town. And that asshole with a dog on his head, he starts talking about how we're bad people. He said we needed to be punished for what we did. Not all of us, but some of us. And then he gives everyone a fucking lottery ticket. First up was the lucky losers. They got decapitated. Guess that's lucky cause it's pretty quick. Then came the crucifixions. God damn, but those went on and on and on. Third place runners-up got enslaved. I got the fuck beat out of my legs. In the winter, they let go free.
You can even ask Boxcars what happened to the mayor.
Him? When his ticket came up, they burned him alive on a pile of tires.
With all this new knowledge, I said goodbye to Boxcars. And upon leaving, I actually came face to face with the Legion.
Don't worry. I won't have you lashed to a cross like the rest of these degenerates. It's useful that you happen by. I want you to witness the fate of the town of Nipton, to memorize every detail. And then, when you move on, I want you to teach everyone you meet the lesson that Caesar's Legion taught here, especially any NCR troops you run across.
This is Volpes Incolta, the commander of the Legion's Frumentari, which is just a fancy word for undercover spies. I guarantee that 99% of players met Volpes here, but did you know if you happen to slay Volpes before heading to Nipton for the first time, you will instead be greeted by an NPC named Gaben.
Well. I've heard of you. I am Gaben of Caesar's Legion. I serve my master as the one of his frumentari.
This man does not sound anything like he looks. For the most part, Volpes and Gaben have the same dialogue, though their deliveries are quite different.
Don't worry, I won't have you lashed to a cross like the rest of these degenerates.
I won't have you lashed to a cross like the rest of these degenerates.
I personally find Volpes to be far more chilling. Talking to him makes me feel like I'm talking to a corpse. It's unsettling. It's stuff like this that makes me believe this is one of the greatest games ever made. Maybe only 1% of players will naturally find this, but that attention to detail is so noteworthy. After listening to the Dogman talk about how mass murder is a righteous act, I decided I don't want another Nipton to happen ever again.
If you feel strongly about it, attack us, and soon you won't feel a thing.
So you know we had to do some Wasteland justice. Nipton is quite the experience. Everything you've heard about the Legion up until this point now holds weight, anchored by the fact that you saw with your own 2 eyes what happens when the Legion deems something to be unfit. With the Roman LARPers removed from the Mojave census and no sign of the man in the checkered suit, it's high time we make our way to Novac. Called Novac because a no vacancy sign fell apart, it's a pretty down in the dumps area, mainly used as a staging ground for scrap traders. The town does have 2 things going for it: a giant dinosaur that doubles as a colossal thermometer, and the most charming and lovable schizophrenic out in the entire wasteland.
Ghosts. Commie ghosts who don't know they're dead. Hoping to steal our rockets so they can fly up and paint the moon pink and draw a Lenin face on it.
Nobark is not only entertaining, but is one of the best ways to make money in the early game. Listen, build a decent caravan deck and you can finesse this man for everything he is worth. Get yourself a deck full of nothing but 6s, 8s, and 10s and fill the rest with kings, and you have the god deck. Add in the fact that his caps restock every couple days and there isn't a limit on how many times you can play with him, and you have a recipe to become a very wealthy courier. As you make your way around the town, you'll more than likely see a familiar face yet again.
Well, butter my butt and call me a biscuit if it ain't my old friend from Goodsprings.
As much as I love this game, I'm disappointed with how they wrote Victor. Back in Primm, we learned from Johnson Nash that he was the one that hired us to deliver the platinum chip. But now that we see him in Novac, there isn't a single dialogue option to confront him about that. In my eyes, Victor's a character that has so much wasted potential. It's neat that you see him a couple times outside of Goodsprings, but after the 2nd or 3rd time, that shit gets old fast.
Yep, this is getting mighty embarrassing. People gonna start to talk.
Each time that you see him, he doesn't even provide anything of value, just making one-off comments of how quirky it is we keep running into each other. So going forward, I'm probably just gonna ignore Victor.
Howdy. No!
The dinosaur in town is more than just a decorative set piece. There's this guy named Cliff inside that sold me this sick-ass power fist. And the town is able to defend itself by having snipers on watch inside the mouth. There's a day shift sniper called Manny and a nighttime sniper called Boone. Talking to Manny reveals that he actually knows where the man in the checkered suit went.
Well, listen, I can definitely help you find him.
But there's one slight issue. He won't tell us unless we do a quest for him involving getting rid of ghouls inside a nearby rocket museum. This is going to be somewhat of a controversial take, but I think Come Fly With Me is an okay questline the first time. On subsequent playthroughs, it's borderline awful. It's really just a glorified fetch quest with hardly any variety in how you complete it. Though I do love that you can blow up the ghouls because they did my boy Chris dirty. I feel like the developers knew that some players wouldn't want to do this, so you can completely bypass the quest by going into Manny's room and just reading his terminal. With Manny's note in hand, we could leave the town, but there's 2 more things we should do. In a nearby home, there's a retired NCR ranger named Andy. Despite being crippled, this man is simply built different because he can teach you the best special move in the entire game.
There's a move we have in the Rangers for knocking an opponent off his feet. Saved my butt a bunch of times, maybe it will for you too. Let me show you how it's done.
It's called the Ranger Takedown, and bruh, this move is so good, you can even put a Deathclaw in its place. Yeah, I'm only level 9 by the way. You can also recruit the nighttime sniper Boone as a companion. His backstory is anime protagonist levels of tragic.
My wife was taken from our home by Legion slavers one night while I was on watch. They knew when to come and what route to take. And they only took Carla. Someone set it up. I don't know who. I want the son of a bitch who sold her.
Wanting to get revenge, we're tasked with finding out who in the town kidnapped and sold his wife. Again, the Wasteland's most lovable schizophrenic is able to help us out.
What do you know about the abduction of Boone's wife?
Seen it all. Seen shadowy folk come to his room and leave again in the middle of the night. Thought one might have gone in the lobby too for a spell. Mole rat men come up from the underneath to steal young women with promises of riches and fancy mud mansions with all the latest designer appliances. If anyone asks, we never spoke.
Novac might speak in tongues mixed with level 34 enchantment table, but everything he says is actually true in one way or another. Taking his cryptic hint, we head to the motel lobby and find a locked safe. Picking it reveals that Jeannie Mae Crawford is the one that sold Boone's wife to the Legion. Talking to her even after learning this, she just lies straight to our face.
She never did take to living here. She liked the big lights and fast living of New Vegas. I got the feeling she was trying to get Boone to leave with her, but I guess she got tired of waiting. I know he thinks she was kidnapped, but I'm not so sure she didn't just run off on her own. You could tell she was thinking about it ever since they arrived.
So, as I always say, time for some Wasteland justice. Hey, Jeannie, can you take a look in front of this dinosaur?
Watch out for strangers.
Well, with justice served, Boone is not too beat up about it. Are you an outlaw now?
No. People die out there. Often enough that no one worries about blame. They're too anxious to forget it happened in the first place, I guess. Besides, I was on break when it happened.
Afterwards, you can ask Boone to join you, and as long as you're not Legion affiliated, he'll go anywhere you want.
That's reason enough for me to take you up on it, I suppose, but this isn't gonna end well. Fine. Let's get out of here.
With Manny's note in hand and Boone in tow, we're now off to Boulder City.
Gambling days were through.
Boulder City is a fairly underdeveloped area, and I don't mean that just because it's been blown into rubble. I guarantee most players didn't even know there's a whole ass bar here.
A customer. Not many people come into Boulder City these days.
Really, you come here for one of two reasons. To find clues on the man who shot you, or you want to see what happens when you shoot the war memorial.
What the fuck are you doing? My brother died at the Battle of Hoover Dam. You're desecrating a war memorial.
My apologies. It was rude and disrespectful of me to do that.
Alright, apology accepted. Don't let it happen again.
As you approach the city's center, we are swiftly halted by a man named Lieutenant Monroe.
We've got a situation with some great cons right now. The brass at McCarran has ordered me to lock down the ruins until it's been resolved. Cons have Private Ackerman and Private Gilbert as hostages.
If Monroe's telling the truth, the great cons that assisted in our attempted murder are being held up in Boulder City. The only thing preventing the NCR from gunning them down is that they have 2 soldiers held hostage. At this point, you can solve the issue diplomatically or violently. Now, I always side with the former because the latter is a lot less interesting.
What the hell? You're that courier Benny wasted back in Goodsprings. You're supposed to be dead.
I love that in one of the options you can be a snide bastard. I'm a ghost here to haunt you.
Alright, quit fucking around. You survived and you tracked us down. What now?
Apparently the man in the checkered suit, aka Benny, fled to the New Vegas Strip after backstabbing the cons. At this point, you could just leave. I mean, we have all the information we need to track down Benny. But I do want to broker a peaceful resolution between the cons and the NCR. With enough speech, we can convince the cons to let the hostages go. In return, we'll guarantee that they can safely leave.
I can't believe I'm doing this. But alright, the hostages can go. The NCR had better keep their end of the deal, though.
Talking to Lieutenant Monroe, we learned that the NCR doesn't want to hold their end of the bargain.
I'm glad you were able to get my people freed, but there's a new problem. I just got orders to take out the great cons, hostages or not.
This isn't too surprising to me because it's the same guy that said if we didn't intervene, the hostages would be considered acceptable casualties.
Acceptable casualties, I've been told. I don't like it, but the brass has their reasons.
Early in this video, I said that the NCR is only good if you work hard to make them good, and damn, are they proving my point. Thankfully, we can tell Monroe to be a good human and hold his end of the bargain, regardless of what the orders demand.
You're right. The great cons are free to go.
With that shit show flushed down the latrine, from here it's a beeline to New Vegas. I did make a pit stop and picked up a new companion named Veronica, mainly because if you give her a dress, she will teach you a special move called the Scribe Counter.
For me? Do you mean it? No, it's too much. Well, okay, but it's too much. Oh, it's perfect. Thank you. I wish I had something to give you. Wait. What about punching? That's the gift that keeps on giving.
I haven't talked about combat much, but if you can't tell, I'm going for an unarmed build. I've always found New Vegas' combat to be very fun despite the outdated mechanics due to how much variety there is in weapon choice. From samurai swords and throwing hatchets to laser Tommy guns and mini nukes, I always felt like no matter who I roleplayed as, there was a set of weapons to fit that fantasy.
It's high noon.
Plus, the creativity on some of the weapons are insane to me, like a shoulder-mounted Tesla cannon, a bouquet of energy cells that explode on impact, proton axes, and pneumatic gauntlets. In any other game, this would be completely absurd, but in the world of Fallout, it just works. Plus, the weapons feel weighty and have satisfying sound design.
Nice.
And don't even get me started on unarmed. If you've never done an unarmed build in New Vegas, you owe it to yourself. There is something so cathartic about caving in someone's frontal lobe with a lightning fast uppercut. There's only one more place separating us and the gaudy neon gates of New Vegas, and that's the wild world of Freeside. Freeside is a destitute community that houses a melting pot of individuals trying to make their best of a bad situation. Being on the outer edge of Vegas, it's home to locals, squatters, and anyone down on their luck. You can find a mixed bag of people that will treat you fairly or shank you just for looking at them. Everyone has a grift or hustle here. It's how you survive in this harsh place. Walk down the wrong alley and you run the risk of becoming a footnote in history.
Nah, just some idiot that wandered down the wrong alley. Sound familiar? Over it!
Even though Freeside is small in game, there are quite a few big players. The Van Graffs, the Followers of the Apocalypse, the Garrett Twins, and the Kings. Starting from top down, the Van Graffs are horrible. It's a family-owned business run by arrogant pricks that wheel and deal energy weapons at a large scale.
Welcome to the Silver Rush, where only top-of-the-line energy weapons can be found. What can I do for you?
Despite Gloria being calm, put together, and seemingly amiable, she is pure evil. Gloria has no qualms using murder as a tool against rivals to gain a larger market share.
While I respect their business acumen, I'm obligated to try to destroy them however I can. That's business, after all.
It's why throughout the Mojave you can find caravans that have been burnt to a crisp. But if that isn't enough to convince you, the first thing you see when meeting the crime family is a man getting vaporized because he wanted to negotiate on price. They even threatened to vaporize you just for talking to them.
Get the fuck away from me. The last man who bothered me volunteered to help test our weapons.
So here's what I do every playthrough. Before you can enter the store, a man named Simon will do a pat down on you and seize all your weapons. If you ask Gloria for work, you can be the person that does Simon's job as well.
Welcome to the Silv... Aw, crap. Don't tell me you're my new guard.
The task is pretty simple. Turn away drunks, look out for any suspicious individuals, and make sure that you pat down every single person. That's the golden rule.
That is, after we pat them down for weapons. An unarmed man is a lot less likely to try to steal something with several armed guards around.
Halfway through your shift, you will meet a man wearing a brown utility coat. Letting him through the gates without checking him leads to an interesting outcome.
We're supposed to pat everyone down. Didn't you hear that part of my instructions?
I'm about to blow.
Yeah, boys, we just let Ted Kaczynski into the Silver Rush, and he definitely left his mark.
They're all dead. Guy must have had some kind of explosive on him. Set off all the ordnance in this place at once. Congratulations, rookie. You just cost me my job. Don't think I don't appreciate it.
And just like that, the Silver Rush just got silver crushed. Thankfully, the Followers of the Apocalypse are nothing like the Van Graffs. Located across town inside the old Mormon fort and led by a woman named Julie Farkas, this organization has a pretty simple goal in mind: to spread medical and educational information to the wasteland openly and freely, while also providing as much humanitarian help as possible.
We hope to forge a brave new world free of war and poverty by sharing knowledge and resources. Our primary goal is the free exchange of ideas.
The followers are a great representation of actual anarchism in practice, focusing on mutual aid for the benefit of everyone inside a hierarchy-free society.
I'm with the followers of the apocalypse, and I help the locals in Westside grow crops. Unlike the NCR, the followers don't expect anything back.
This idea is very noble, but naive at scale.
If they didn't charge for their services, I'd think they was crazy. But nah, they're just naive. Warms their heart.
Historically, anarchist societies don't tend to hold up well against heavily armored authoritarian states.
I don't know what to think about the followers, the things they do. Hard to say if they're helping or hurting sometimes, especially in Freeside.
But regardless, they're an admirable faction, and each playthrough I go out of my way to support them as much as possible. Without the followers, the Mojave would be in a way worse situation. As for the Garrett twins, they run a bar called the Atomic Wrangler.
Welcome to the Atomic Wrangler.
What can I get you?
As the only bar in Freeside, they have a lot of social pull, something you can leverage for a fee.
I've got it. I'll say you slew a nest of deathclaws living in the sewers. It was bloody work, but you waded through the pack like a man possessed.
I kid you not, one of the quests you can do has the twins sending you to an abandoned robot factory to retrieve a Protectron that can offer explicit services.
Prank him, John. You already know.
Please assume the position.
When the Atomic Wrangler isn't doing some freaky shit,
My God, imagine the possibilities.
you'll come to learn that they do care about Freeside. In a questline with the followers, you can convince them to use their distillery to help create a steady flow of medical supplies. That's a really cool way for the business to thrive and to directly help out their community. But our final big player of Freeside cares more about the area more than any other, and that's the Kings.
You want to travel through Freeside with ease? You hire a king. We're everywhere, and no one messes with us.
These 1950s greaser-looking guys are the Kings, and they are Elvis Presley impersonators. After settling inside a pre-war impersonation school, they came to revere Elvis, modeling his style, speech, and way of life. Led by a man named the King, he is trying his best to live life like a king.
The Kings are about an idea, you see, where every man is free to follow his own path, do his own thing, where every man is a king in his own right.
The best way I could describe the Kings is a gang that's turned into a pseudo-government for Freeside. They're fair in their dealings, treat people equally, and want to see Freeside be independent. And everything I mentioned about this community is only scratching the surface.
What the hell? Why? I need alcohol, man. I'm gonna die if I don't get a drink.
Like, did you know the Vagrant in Freeside can actually speak coherently?
Ooh. Friend, not a few minutes ago I chanced upon a pair of destitute orphans grappling over just such an item. If you cover the area methodically, I'm quite certain you'll happen upon them with only the most insubstantial of delays. Be well, and do try and avoid the tragic path of the sot that led me to my present infirmities and spiritual woes. Fare thee well.
Really, I could sit here and talk about Freeside all day, but we still need to make it to the Strip so we can finally learn about Mr. House. Approaching the gates of Vegas, you'll be confronted by Mr. House's Securitrons.
Submit to a credit check or present your passport before proceeding to the gate. Trespassers will be shot.
The first time I saw this, I could only think about how dystopian this is. Unless you have enough science skill to hack the robot, you'll need to submit to a 2,000 cap credit check. Now, my courier has enough bread to pass the check, but this already gives me an immediate red flag. And to explain why, we're gonna have to take a stroll on the Strip.
The room was completely black.
After roughing it through the harsh wasteland, we're finally here. The new Vegas Strip. Just being in Freeside a couple minutes ago, this is a night and day difference. The blinking neon lights, vibrant music echoing through the streets, and the carefree attitudes, this place is quite lively.
Why do they call it a monorail? It's a train. A train. What?
I mean, get a load of this schmuck. This guy had way too many Long Island iced teas. Making our way down the main strip, we're ambushed by our favorite robot cowboy yet again.
Oh, shucks, partner.
I suppose it can't hurt to let you in on my little secret.
At this point, the cat is out of the bag. The game hasn't been subtle about it at all, but if you didn't know, Victor is a puppet of Mr. House, the shadowy overlord that rules New Vegas. Remember when Victor didn't help us all the way back in Goodsprings? Well, it's because Mr. House remotely turned him off. Mr. House cares more about his property than the lives of an independent town. Victor was more than capable of vanquishing the powder gangers, but the risk of damage to Victor, which by proxy serves as his eyes and ears in the area, no, we can't be having that. And honestly, that should have been my first red flag, but when I first played New Vegas, I genuinely believed that House was the best choice for the Mojave.
You see that you and I are of a different stripe, don't you? We don't have to dream that we're important. We are.
Despite being a giant cathode ray tube TV, House is everything that defines success in America. Being a multi-billionaire 30 times over that not only cheated death once by nuclear explosions, but twice by living to be over 200 years old.
Don't let the video screens and computer terminals fool you. I'm flesh and blood, not silicon.
House is nothing short of a technological anomaly.
By 2065, I deemed it a mathematical certainty that an atomic war would devastate the Earth within 15 years. Every projection I ran confirmed it. I knew I couldn't save the world, nor did I care to, but I could save Vegas, and in the process, perhaps save mankind.
At face value, he has all the makings of a successful leader and the charisma to pair. I guarantee that this line alone made a lot of players side with him.
I would rule as a chief executive. I would not answer to a board of directors or any other entity. Nothing to impede progress. If you want to see the fate of democracies, look out the windows.
But no, Mr. House, if you want to see the fate of your autocracy, look at Freeside to see the failings of your ideology. Freeside is an undesirable area, suffering from wealth inequality, substance abuse, and rampant homelessness. The kids are eating rats while the high rollers in New Vegas slurp on only the finest of Brahmin steaks, and that's by design. In House's pursuit of a robust and booming economy, he's exploited the human desire for wealth, resulting in the creation of Freeside. No matter where you go in the Mojave, you can find a tale of someone seeking New Vegas in pursuit of a better life, only to be sucked in, grinded up, and spit out into financial ruin.
We get 'em coming and going. Coming, the suckers flush with caps they saved to gamble on the strip. And going, the same folks. But now they're losers who'll trade you the shirt off their backs so they don't starve before they make it back home.
These newly created vagrants, being too poor to head back home, find themselves stuck in Freeside, turning to a life of crime or suffering to make ends meet. And that's how they get you, because hand over fist, the House always wins.
Vegas has fools enough, a superfluity of them. They're what makes it so profitable. They come to Vegas chasing penny-ante dreams of high living to feel like they're big shots, like they're winners.
If Mr. House truly cared about the future of humanity, he could help the inequality by building infrastructure in Freeside and offering caps to its citizens in exchange for labor to at least stimulate the economy. But House doesn't do that. In fact, he does the complete opposite. This egotistical money-grubbing fuck doesn't give a shit about anyone but himself. I think it's fitting that Mr. House has an obsession with snow globes because they're in a way how House views the Mojave wasteland. Little terrariums full of insect-like humans that he can poke, play, and bend to his will. At the end of the day, Vegas is just a tool for him to further his vision of a greater future. He tells you that straight up when you ask him if he would ever go to war with the NCR.
Why would I want to go to war against the NCR? They're my best customers. If their leaders weren't scheming to steal Vegas out from under me, I'd have no troubles with the NCR at all.
And if you ask him why he should rule the Mojave, he has a compelling answer.
New Vegas is more than a city. It's the remedy to mankind's derailment. The city's economy is a blast furnace in which can be forged the steel of a new rail line running straight to a new horizon. With all that money pouring in, give me 20 years and I'll reignite the high technology development sectors. 50 years and I'll have people in orbit. 100 years and my colony ships will be heading for the stars to search for planets unpolluted by the wrath and folly of a bygone generation.
On paper, that sounds really noble, and New Vegas is written open-ended, so it's up to the player if you believe House can do that if you side with him. But to me, it begs the million-dollar question. A greater future For who?
The Strip's not a bad place if you love terrible things and people. I'll never understand the allure of giving away your money to the rich.
It sure as hell isn't Goodsprings. Motherfucker wouldn't even spare one Securitron for the town. It's not the residents of Freeside. We know that for damn sure. Look, given Mr. House's track record over the past 200 years, if House were to take control, all of the Mojave would look exactly like Freeside. Only the rich and subservient will be ushered into Mr. House's utopia.
I have to say I don't understand where you're going with Mr. House. The man's been manipulating the locals for as long as anyone can remember. If you help him kick the NCR and Legion out, he's going to keep right on doing it. The people in Freeside will be just as bad off as they ever were.
And if you played the game BioShock, we all know how this story ends. If we want to have a functional society that is worth living in, we can't cater to the richest denominator. And that's why out of the three choices, I'm siding with the NCR. For all their flaws, they still have the potential to correct their ways. Caesar's gonna die from a brain tumor and House is 200 years old. There's no way you're changing his mind. But in my eyes, the NCR has hope. If their greed is left unchecked, they will destroy themselves. But I believe we can fix that over time with the right leaders. And that's when it hit me. This is why New Vegas has become a cult classic. More than a decade later, and people like myself are still debating on what the right choice is for New Vegas. No matter who you choose to lead the Mojave, you're probably going to be left feeling like you didn't make the right choice. And that speaks to the brilliant writing Obsidian did with this game. The choices you make in New Vegas aren't transitory, they're existential. You have to decide the fate of a society, one that will probably outlive you. That's a tall philosophical task to ask your player. And this game not only does it, but it does it so damn well.
Play the guitar.
Now, here's a fun fact. Because we're siding with the NCR, we don't have to confront Benny for the platinum chip. The NCR doesn't have a use for it. You could really beat the game without ever confronting the guy who shot you in the face. But in this case, I will, because I've been alluding to it all video, and I love seeing Mr. House throw a tantrum.
I spent 2 centuries searching for the platinum chip. It's my invention, my property, mine! Now be a good courier and deliver it!
Entering the tops, it's pretty swanky. If I had to choose a casino to stay at, it would probably be this one. But this casino is also home to the biggest fink in the wasteland.
What in the goddamn? I hit what I was aiming for. Guess you had brains to spare. Or you just thick-skulled. Either way, baby, this is good news. Maybe I can finally sleep at night, knowing you didn't die.
Before we burn Benny's sorry ass, we can actually rat him out to his right-hand man, Swank. Using physical evidence we collected throughout the wasteland like Benny's cigarettes, the note we got from Manny, and the lighter we got from Jessup, you can convince Swank to let us deal with Benny how we see fit.
Jesus, kid, I think we got a real problem on our hands.
If you're bold, you can run his fate on sight. If you're more subtle, you can slit his throat while he's asleep.
Huh?
Oh!
If you're old-fashioned, you can 1v1 him in an arena or have him crucified. Even if violence isn't your code of conduct, you can actually let him go, even after he double-crossed you.
Low on the dice, baby. We're gonna need luck to get out of here alive.
Regardless of how you deal with Benny, it opens the door for the player to discover something I haven't talked about, and that's a 4th major faction. This option is unlocked by talking to the secret Securitron in Benny's quarters named Yes Man.
Hi there! Good to meet you. What can I do for you today?
This Securitron was programmed to be a yes man. He physically can't say no to any request.
I was programmed to be helpful and answer any questions I was asked. I guess nobody bothered to restrict who I answer questions for. That was probably pretty dumb, huh?
Using this oversight, we can learn exactly what Benny was trying to achieve with the platinum chip.
Oh! He wants to kill Mr. House and use the platinum chip to copy my neurocomputational matrix onto the Lucky 38's mainframe. That should give me control over all Mr. House's defenses. Most prominently, his Securitrons.
And when you think about it, this is genius on the developers. Because the game allows you to kill any NPC as you see fit, the Yes Man route acts as a failsafe if the player decides to go scorched earth on everyone. And this makes sense not only mechanically, but also in the lore. Yes Man is a Securitron. If you kill him, he can just move to another one, giving the player a way to beat the game no matter what. In this route, if you use the platinum chip, the courier gains access to an entire robot army to shape the Mojave as they see fit. What the courier does with that power and how it impacts the wasteland is up to the player's headcanon. Siding with the NCR has us working with the ambassador to reach diplomatic ties with two factions within New Vegas. The first is the Boomers, a reclusive, if not isolationist group of ex-vault dwellers that are extremely skilled with explosives. This faction genuinely perplexes, if not straight up gaslights me. The first time you meet them, they try to blow you up, and only when they fail, they treat you as if you're some chosen savage that will change their isolationist ways.
I've been waiting a good 5 years for an outsider to come along and visit.
And when you go to help them, you realize they're not that bad, right? The things they ask you to do are help their wounded, fix their infrastructure, get rid of a couple pests, and be genuinely nice to them.
Put up your dukes. I'm the red brick kid. You better believe it. I'll knock your block off. Back to base!
It's only when you go to the museum and listen to a 10-year-old talk about how much they want to murder everyone is when you realize that New Vegas did a really good job of humanizing this faction. If you ignore the whole "we must blow up every savage that walks this earth" part, completing all the quests for the Boomers leads to them raising a B-29 bomber from Lake Mead. After that, you can convince their leader Pearl to side with the NCR for the next battle of Hoover Dam. The Boomers might be a little crazy and threatening, but by helping them out, the player plants the seeds to show that outsiders can be trusted and you can negotiate trade with them. Being nice to the Boomers in turn hopefully ensures they don't go on any random bomb runs on the Mojave. Wait, did I just describe US foreign policy? Our second diplomatic mission involves brokering a peace agreement between the Kings of Freeside and the NCR citizens occupying the area. I talked about this briefly back in Freeside, but Pacer is the root cause of all the tension between the two. The NCR's initial recommendation is that they straight up assassinate Pacer, but Crocker recommends a peaceful resolution. There are so many ways to go about this mission, but I'll showcase the three that are most interesting. The first is getting the Van Graffs to turn Pacer into a pile of gambagoo. You can do this by getting Mick from Mick and Ralph's to forge a note saying that the Van Graffs stole Pacer's jet. The second option is by getting the NCR just to systematically wipe all of them out. Under no circumstance do I endorse or recommend this option. Our third option is unique because not a lot of people know about it. You can cash in your favor from the king to solve this situation diplomatically. If you completed the quest GI Blues earlier, the king gives you a favor that you can cash in. Typically, the favor can be used to join the kings, get a passport, or a lump sum of money. But if you hold on to this favor until this quest, you can cash it in and solve everything just like that.
Okay, you've got a deal. No more violence against the NCR on my watch. But this makes us even, you hear?
From this point forward, we'll be transferred to Hoover Dam, where we'll get direct orders from Colonel Moore. Moore will instruct us on how to deal with factions that pose a far more significant threat to the NCR. Those being the Great Khans, the Omertas, Mr. House, and the Brotherhood of Steel. Colonel Moore will advise the player to assassinate or eradicate most of these groups. This is why earlier I talked about how for a group that believes in liberal democracy, they are very brutal. 2 out of the 4 factions can be solved without shedding any blood. Though for the Omertas and Mr. House, someone has to die. Once you decide the fate of those factions, the second to last mission begins. We are tasked with protecting President Kimball as he gives a speech to the NCR troopers before going to war. This mission is really cool because on the parallel side of things, if you were doing a Legion run, you would be trying to game end the president. I remember the first time I did this mission, I felt so accomplished because I stopped the Legion's attempts on Kimball's life. That was until the Bear Force 1 took off. Regardless if you're able to save the president or not, the final battle of Hoover Dam can take place. The battle for Hoover Dam is a climactic ending to all of your efforts in the Mojave. There's a lot of hidden gems here depending on the actions you did throughout your playthrough. For example, if you did what Fantastic wanted you to do at Helios 1 by sending power to McCarran in the Strip, you'll learn that he was promoted to the head engineer of Hoover Dam.
This whole war's about power, man. Caesar wants it, NCR wants it. Fantastic's got it. After I fixed Helios 1 and basically saved the NCR from the dumb shits who run it, I got myself a little promotion. Now I run the whole shebang.
He can even help you flesh out the legionaries that are coming in through the water pipes. If you help the boomers get the B-29 out of Lake Mead, they will now be seen carpet bombing the Legion. And if you did Arcade Ganon's questline, you can have a personal army of Enclave soldiers fighting at your side. This is pretty cool because the labor of all of your actions are paying off in real time. As you carve your way through hordes of legionaries, you finally come face to face with Legate Linnaeus.
We shall see how brave you are when nailed to the walls of Hoover Dam. Your body facing west so you may watch your world die.
A mythical man that's been brought up by various characters as you've played the game. And those rumors are true. He's a hulking beefcake of a man, being faster, stronger, and taller than any other foe the courier has faced thus far. The battle with Linnaeus can be fought physically or verbally. If your character is heavily invested into speech or barter, you can convince him that taking the west isn't worth the investment, as the entire region is too dependent on a fragmented supply chain.
Perhaps it is unfortunate Wolpex was not here to hear your words. Something tells me you would prove more than his match.
Some might disagree, but I think the speech option is valid in game and not out of character for the commander. We aren't convincing Linnaeus to tactically retreat because we're shattering his moral worldview. You're appealing to his honor and strategic mind by speaking his language. Regardless if you defeat Linnaeus through brains or brawn, his demise results in a brand new future for the Mojave. A giant explosion erupts as NCR Rangers storm the final front. Through the smoke, we are greeted by General Oliver yet again, who congratulates us on our actions, and cementing an NCR victory for the Mojave. And with that, the game comes to an end.
I am sitting on top of the world.
New Vegas is simultaneously one of the best video games of all time and a janky passion project held together with duct tape, sweat, and love. Yeah, people walk on air, the grass might have smoked too much grass, quests tend to bug out, and playing the game on Windows can be a toss-up. But regardless, New Vegas has undeniably earned its status as a cult classic. I believe the biggest charm of this game is that New Vegas never forced me to care about anyone or anything in the game. It was made in a way where I could decide whether I cared or not. Through various quests and experiences, it showed me what each faction does and what they believe, asking the player to draw their own conclusions from that. The option to not make a choice paradoxically makes every choice feel important. That's genius. Now, back in the day, this game didn't have the love and affection it does now. I remember on launch, this game was ripped to shreds, and rightfully so. Not only was it borderline unplayable, being a buggy mess similar to Cyberpunk, but also the initial players that picked up this game were fans of Fallout 3, expecting this entry to be Fallout 3 2.0, but Western. I can see how coming from fighting super mutants and Enclave super soldiers to seeing football gear wearing, machete wielding skirt boys of the Legion felt underwhelming. Add in the deeply political, morally gray storytelling, and it's a much different tone than Fallout 3 was portraying. But that shift in tone is exactly what a lot of players were craving. They just didn't know it yet. Fast forward a decade and some change later, even with the gift of hindsight, I genuinely don't know how the game has so much thought and depth while only being developed in a mere 18 months. This is a testament to the talent and dedication of its creators. I can only imagine that New Vegas has reached the status it has because it was made by a team of passionate people that would gladly sacrifice a chunk of their lives to create the best RPG they genuinely could. And I think it paid off big time. Roughly 13 years after its release, New Vegas continues to captivate and inspire a passionate fan base. Its enduring appeal lies in its rich storytelling, morally complex choices, and the immersive world of the Mojave Wasteland. Even after all these years, fans like myself would love to see a sequel or remaster. Though honestly, I'm skeptical if lightning can be caught in a bottle twice. But hey, don't take my word for it. New Vegas might not be everyone's cup of tea, but try the game as that's the only way you can see. Because in this neon city, you can truly be free. What the Jerry, did you write this shit? So this was honestly the hardest video I've made to date. I started this one about one day after the Silent Hill video, and I did not expect it to take 3 months. But I'm already working on the next video, right in time for Halloween, and I think you guys will really like it. Also, very shameless plug here, but I do have a Patreon and I'm on Spotify if you ever want to listen to these videos on the go. I typically upload the first 10 minutes of each video weeks in advance for the Patreon people, and I shout out people that do join. So yeah, thanks to a fellow YouTuber, Nathan Hines, for joining, and shout out to Meldoy, the first 2 of my Patreons, so I appreciate it big time. Anyways, if this video gets to 1 million views, we can talk about Fallout New Vegas DLCs, because we could honestly make an entire hour-long video just about that. Clip that, hold me accountable. I will see you guys later in the next video. Thanks for watching.
Patrolling the Mojave almost makes you wish for a nuclear winter.